So we're still working from the framework family. Everything is sound and light. Everything is sound and light. We're working from that standpoint. We're focusing today primarily on Genesis, just like we've, been doing. Genesis 1, chapter 1, verses 1 through 7. In specific, we've been taking a real look at just this second verse. And today, we're going to look at the phrase in Hebrew, tohu vabohu, which is translated without form and void. This is indicating, as we said, consciousness at rest. All right? That is us in a state of divinity and wholeness, divine wholeness. That is us, life, let's say. Now, see, that is
Mhm.
life in a state of wholeness and divinity.
Yes.
We can observe today the diversity of all life, can we not?
Yes.
But it's just consciousness manifested. It is
That's
just
right.
divinity manifested. But at this point, our ancestors in Genesis 1 and 2, they were communicating that life existed or consciousness existed within a state of rest.
I'm glad you brought that point out that because a lot of time, most of the time, all the time, we never connect consciousness in life as anything. Consciousness again is awareness, but life is something else. You
Right,
follow?
correct.
But yes, that's exactly what we just come off of talking. That was the title. Consciousness is life and life as consciousness.
That's
Yeah.
correct. Now, see, that's why I'm keeping that consistent. So we're focusing tohu vabohu. We want to focus on this aspect of who here. And who is an indication of sound, all right? In esoteric thought and in esoteric knowledge, who is indicative of sound. It represents sound or what the scriptures refer to as the word. In the beginning was the word. Excuse me. In the beginning was the word. The process that we're going to trace is the word, this first sound becoming flesh. Are you all with me?
Okay, Eitai.
We're going to trace the word, how the word, which is what? Who, the first sound, became flesh. Y'all should be way ahead of me. So the phrase tohu vabohu, listen, it indicates the uncreated, enfolded, encrypted, unmanifested or unexpressed universe.
Yes.
Did y'all hear me?
Yeah.
The phrase tohu vabohu was employed to indicate the uncreated, unmanifested, and again, we taking our time, family. Everybody should be here. Unmanifested, better word now, see, unexpressed,
Mm-hmm.
because unexpressed has to do with language and sound, correct?
Yes.
Unexpressed, enfolded, encrypted. If you're taking notes, write all these down. Encrypted or seed form or seed state, I should say. I don't want to use the word form. The
Right.
seed state, because it was no form. It's
There
the
was no form.
seed state of what we call physical life or physical reality. Is this unclear to anyone? This is the universe, the physical universe in thought form or in the state of thought only before a thought is expressed. You have to have an idea, right? Before it is manifested into something. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So tohu vabohu indicates the universe before it had any form or definition. Tohu vabohu, the universe in thought form. So
Eitai,
then, yes,
you can also say before you had form.
that's correct. That's correct. Nothing had form. Right.
Right, not had form, right.
So then consciousness at some point had the desire to create. That is, move from rest into motion. Right?
Mm-hmm.
To move from rest into motion, to put that thought, that creative thought, into action. And Nasi gave us the term animation. And that is a really great term, to animate. It's a really instructive term.
Mm-hmm.
It had the desire to create, therefore it moved. It went from dormant rest into active motion. And
Yes,
that
yes.
motion initially expressed itself in a sound or vibration.
Mm-hmm.
This is self-evident. This is self-evident. Sound is motion, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
And it's vibration. It vibrated. That is indicated in the Genesis narrative by saying the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. There are three elements that are located in Genesis 2. The first element is sound. The second element is movement or vibration. And the third element is light. Oh, there are four elements. I'm sorry. Movement, sound, light, and the fourth element is water. There are actually three elements: water, light, and sound. And
Mm-hmm.
then movement being rest, being consciousness vibrating. All right. And it vibrated
or
upon
the animate aspect.
hello?
I said, or the animate aspect.
That's correct. Now, the ancestors revealed to us when I noticed these three elements, they gave us a term, a modern scientific term called sonoluminescence. That is simply sound transforming itself into light within a liquid or water substance. Sonoluminescence. Sound, sono, turning into light, luminescence, within a water or liquid element. That is exactly what we observe in Genesis 1. That's what's being explained, this process. Genesis 1, 1 through 7. Is everyone with me?
Mm-hmm.
This is what is referred to as the process of life. From the very beginning, Nancy, the process of life.
Yes, sir.
From the very beginning. Does everyone have this now? Because I'm ready to erase it. We just in the introduction.
Okay, 1 second.
Okay. Going from tohu vabohu, from rest, a rest state, where the universe, where life, Nasi, was all contained in consciousness,
All contained in consciousness.
and it was at rest, and then it went into motion. And we're detailing the process of how consciousness, how we moved from what? Divine to human. And we're called human for a reason. Because we started out as who? Sound, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what we isn't that what we started out? At the very beginning of the process of life, we weren't physical, we were sound. Were we not? We were
Absolutely.
we were a vibrational frequency. And we still are a vibrational frequency. At first we were a high vibrational frequency. Now we are what? A lower vibrational frequency. So this is where we get higher consciousness or higher self. Go ahead, Nasi.
The book of Lamentation.
Okay.
This is the question in Lamentations. They got verse chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 4. And the last one starts off. Now, as I gave the chapters, this is a concept that I want us to consider here. Lamentation, the first verse of the first chapter, first verse of the second chapter, the first verse of the fourth chapter, all is connected to what Eitai just said about who. Now it's written in English, it says how.
Right.
Okay. But then when you get to the last one, it says remember. The fifth chapter starts with the verb remember. What has come upon, it said, remember, O Lord, what has come upon us. Consider and behold our reproach. For our inheritance is turned to strangers, our houses to aliens. We are orphans and fatherless. Our mothers are widows. We have drunken our waters for money. Our wood is sold unto us. And I'll stop right there. I want us to think about that so that we're going to tie all of this in.
Very good, Nasi. That is actually brilliant. That is actually brilliant. I can't wait to hear that. But does everyone have this?
Okay, and I have that. Nasi, what was that reference in Lamentations scripture that you just read from?
First chapter, first verse. Second chapter, first verse. Fourth chapter, first verse. And the fifth chapter, it says remember. Start with remember. Everything starts with who or how. Okay. And the Lamentations means, to cry and to consider and to mourn and whatever. That's what they said Jeremiah was the crying prophet.
Right.
Okay.
We find Lamentations, bringing forth and showing, as you read it, showing how, all of this occurred and it has not been brought to mind by the teachers.
That's correct. That's pretty brilliant, Nasi. That's pretty brilliant. I can't wait for you to go in on that. But we all got these notes.
Okay.
Okay, because I'm going to raise some. Is that a yes from everyone?
Yes.
Okay, very
Same.
good. All right. So moving on now, and we're going to use the graphics from the book Atomic Suicide here. This first graphic here, now they're using the word mind, and you know, that's because they don't have our teacher.
Yeah.
They have not heard Nasik's teaching. So we're not going to
Yeah.
use mind
Yeah,
here.
they haven't heard the family.
They haven't
Right.
heard the family. So we're going to replace that because this is a common mistake. And it really gets confusing, especially when we talk in terms of ascension and talk in terms of moving from the mind to the heart. So we want to use the word, replace the word consciousness. So what they're showing is the eternal, omnipresent vacuum zero, all right, which is consciousness simply at rest, life before it is manifested. So we use the words consciousness or life, all right. Another word that we can use is the word, and you'll see me using it a lot, is the word being, all right. And another word, once you get even more comfortable, is the word self.
Right.
This is me. This is me. And I'm not talking about the individual me. I'm talking about the energetic me in its holistic or in wholeness, in its non separated, non dualistic state. All right? So it says the eternal, omnipresent vacuum zero, or consciousness, life, being, self at rest. It is the reality of cause. It is the cause of all things. And the cause of all things, as the scriptures indicate, in the beginning was the Word, and as the ancients defined it, as who, or the first sound. Is everyone with me?
Mm-hmm.
So, sonoluminescence, and I'll just abbreviate it here. Sonoluminescence is sound turning and transforming into what?
Light, it's manifesting.
Absolutely. Sound turning into light. All right. Now, light expresses itself in two ways. How? What's the first way? Light expresses itself, family, in two. We're not gonna get hung up on this for a third time for the second straight day. I know. Waves and particles. See, we becoming experts now. Waves
Yeah.
and particles. This is the first indication of dualism that is inherent in light. Are you all with me? The wave is the non-material aspect of light, non-material. The particle is the material manifestation of light that expresses itself, Nasi, in what we call matter.
Yes. Yes.
This is who beginning to do what? Take form. And it must manifest itself in light, because light has a particle aspect in order to do what, Nasi? Express itself as matter,
As matter.
as um, as molecules,
Mm-hmm.
as atoms,
Right.
all right, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, matter expresses itself. See, I'm carrying this word aspect of it. Our ancestors did not make a mistake, because a word is an expression of what? A thought, correct?
Mhm.
Which is contained, which is contained in the state of rest, of consciousness. All things exist in thought thought form, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then when it begins to express itself, it expresses itself in a sound or a vibration. It must begin to vibrate. Sonoluminescence defines how consciousness, life, being expressed itself, how we expressed ourselves in a creative manner. So matter expresses itself in a particular language, and that language is in numbers, that is, measurements, degrees, frequencies. Measurements, degrees, frequencies. And also what? Geometry. I'm sorry. In geometry. In what? Shapes. That's how matter takes form, correct?
Yeah.
In shapes. That is circles, triangles, squares, rectangles, right? Etc. This expression of matter is called morphogenesis. Now see,
Yes, sir.
morphogenesis, how an organism or how life expresses itself,
Right.
depends on four elements:
Mm-hmm.
fire,
Right.
to water, 3 air,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
and 4 earth. Am I right? So morphogenesis, what form something takes depends on what we call environment. In the beginning, the chosen element, the element that we chose to express ourselves physically, is water. The spirit moved on what? Not fire, not air, not earth. And understand that these elements are not necessarily physical. We're talking about the energetic aspect of fire, the energetic aspect of air, the energetic aspect of water, the energetic aspect of, of earth. Is everyone with me? So the spirit chose to move or vibrate on the water. Does everyone have these notes down? Because we're taking our time. We're walking you through your journey from divinity to man, to human, from divine wholeness to separation. All right? Does everyone have their notes? Because I'm going to erase them.
Same.
Okay. So it says here that figure 6, we're reading from here, symbolizes the uncreated or unmanifested, encrypted, enfolded, unexpressed universe, the uncreated universe, what they refer to as the zero vacuum universe of rest or at rest. We should all totally understand this now. From which the object means something that you can see, touch, feel, smell, right?
Right.
They're talking about the sense universe, the one that you can um, interact with and decode, Nasi, with the senses
Mm-hmm.
that you can see, hear, touch, smell, etc. The objective from which the objective electric universe of what? Motion emerges to manifest eternal life. It is, you ain't got to go searching for it.
Right.
It's in everything that you can see, hear, touch, smell, taste, which emerges to manifest eternal life. How? By simulating it. Simulation means it's not it, it's just simulating it.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we mess up now, see.
Yep. Right here.
We're looking for meaning and we're looking for life in the simulation and not the
Yeah.
source. because we don't recognize that we are the source, that we are the cause. Self
That's what
is.
I'm going to say. Right, right. We the cause. Right,
We have not understood our who story.
right,
We
right, right,
don't
right.
know it. So I'm telling it to you. It's necessary. We're looking at our who story. How who, what? The word became what? Flesh, or a who man.
Now, you know, this is something really, really. All your Hebrews, every Hebrew I know, I've ever heard of, they anti, quote unquote, the so-called Greek language because the Greeks did this and the Greeks did that. They will not go into the New Testament. I mean, now, but how do you get around this here?
You can't,
Even and none of them can speak Hebrew now, but
right,
they can't speak Hebrew, but they're gonna tell you about how this whole concept of the Greeks is all off.
right.
This is unbelievable.
So this, it says, symbolizes the uncreated, unmanifested, unexpressed, enfolded, encrypted seed state of the universe, the zero vacuum universe at rest, from
Yeah.
which the objective electrical universe of motion.
Mm-hmm.
This motion is what fools us, now see.
Yeah.
So we think that everything in motion, everything that vibrates, that it's life in and of itself. Why? Because
Yeah.
it's in motion. No, no.
Yeah.
You got to consider what is the cause of it vibrating.
Right. 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 Right.
Self is the cause. Sound is the cause. Consciousness moving into motion is the cause. You
Yeah.
moving into motion. You or who moving into motion.
Mm.
By simulating it, it's a simulation in cycles of motion. We have uh, we've been in error because we have confused the simulation with the source, and we
With the
have
soul.
not known the source. We
Yeah.
say it, but we have not realized that I and my Father are what?
Right. Right. Oh.
One.
That's the source. Wow. Wow. Mm.
This is this is God's omnipresent universe of idea. That's what we said, thought,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then
Yeah.
desire. The desire for what? To create. Thought and desire. For the what? Expression of the idea of life. But now, seek, it's not going to be expressed from the standpoint of fire. The decision was made that it would be expressed from the standpoint of water,
Yeah.
not of air
Right.
primarily,
Right.
and not
Right.
of earth primarily, but of
Right.
but of water primarily.
Yeah.
Humans are what percent water?
80, 90% water.
80 or 90% water. So life, and especially as it relates to us, is self-evident that is being expressed through water.
It's self-evident, right?
This is God's omnipresent present universe of idea, desire, or for the expression of the idea of life by what? Moving forms which symbolize idea. We have not understood the idea, family. We have not understood the original thought, the original idea. When we look at Genesis, the first chapter, you know, and when we've looked at it in the past, it was some type of external God somewhere out there causing all things to come into being. Is that not correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And many of us retain this perception, and we haven't realized that that was us.
Yeah.
That is me. Now, see,
Eitai, it's somewhat quiet. I think we need to stop here.
all right. Okay, very good. We're going to pause here and we're going to consider this for a minute, family. So it goes on to say, this is the universe of the imaginer who builds forms in the image of his or her imagining, for giving and receiving in cyclic intervals, which unknowing man calls life and death. We've been fooled by the motion of consciousness. We've been beguiled because we have not understood, family. We have not realized that we are the imaginer, not in diversity, but in wholeness. Consciousness, divine consciousness, initiated this entire process called life. Divine consciousness. That is me. That is you. That is us.
Question.
Yes.
Um, Wholeness family.
Oh,
Okay. If you, when you realize that you are the rest, the divinity, you have manifested on through water into a simulation.
yes.
How does your imagining and desire get you out of the simulation?
Ooh, I got to pause on this. Okay, so we had to rejoice a little bit. We're going to get back in on the lesson, but for those that did not, we paused and we didn't hear, that was just an aha moment there. So we're going to move on. This is the universe of the imaginer who builds forms in the image of his imagining. And the way that that is done, the way that we do that, family, is through a process that we defined as sonoluminescence, turning sound into light. That is the imaginer imagining a world of forms, turning sound into light. And we've explained that process. Okay. This is the universe of the imaginer who builds forms in the image of his imagining. That happens through the process of what we talked about, sonoluminescence. And then the other process is morphogenesis, correct?
That's correct.
All right, we've already gone through this so that we can identify these things as they're expressed in using different forms. The imaginer building forms in his image of his imagining. Family, we got to watch our microphones. We're getting sound coming through and noises. The image of his imagining for giving and re-giving of this process in cyclic intervals. These cyclic intervals we refer to as what?
Frequencies. Frequencies.
No, these cyclic intervals, what do we refer to them as? Cyclic intervals in the physical realm. What do we refer to cyclic intervals as? T-I-M-E, right? Time.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
And in the Genesis, these cyclic intervals are called yom. They refer to them as yom or days, right?
Correct.
Which unknowing man calls life and death. Life and death occur what? Within time. Is that not correct?
Mm-hmm.
So we say time is running out, right?
Right. Right.
we look at this simulation, do we not? And we
Yeah.
say time is running out, or he or she came to the end of their days, right?
Right. Right.
It's a simulation. It's a simulation. It does not define. It says unknowing man calls them life and death. We got to consider that now. We got to consider it. So we're not
Yeah.
calling this mind, we're calling it consciousness. So consciousness comes into motion. All right? Consciousness moves into motion. This is the omniscient universe of eternal, not mind qualities, but consciousness qualities, from which transient electric qualities emerge to simulate the qualities of consciousness as magnetic light, knowledge. All of these things are manifestations of consciousness, idea
Yeah.
energy, life, soul, love, truth, as well as hate, lie,
Yeah.
beauty, ugliness, rhythm, dissonance, balance, imbalance, law, lawlessness, silence, noise, rest, activity, and stillness, motion, all of these things. This is the abiding place of what's called eternal man, all right, who is one with God. See, in our religious upbringing and conditioning and programming, this eternal man, no way we felt it was us. Now, see,
No way.
we said
No
that
way.
that was Christ,
Yeah.
did we not?
Yeah.
And another word for Christ is the word son. All right?
Mm-hmm.
And Christ, see, the reason that I had to say knowledge and then give its opposite, ignorance, idea, energy, life, death, soul, love, hate, truth, lie, beauty, ugliness, rhythm, non-rhythm, balance, imbalance, because we've been biased in our religious upbringing only to think of one thing and not the other.
Yeah.
That is a state of imbalance. So the eternal man, biblically, is represented as Christ the Son. It is also represented as Lucifer, the light bearer. But these two things are one. This is
Mm-hmm.
in the male aspect. In the feminine aspect, when we think of the eternal woman in our religious upbringing, we think of in terms of the Madonna, right?
Right.
Or Mary,
Yeah.
the mother, and then we think of the other Mary, the prostitute. But these are two aspects of the same thing. Don't think
Mm-hmm.
in terms of morality. Think in terms of the Christ being the ascendant male form of the male energy and Lucifer being the descendant. It says so, right? That I
Right.
saw Lucifer fall from heaven.
As a light.
That is us in our descendant aspect.
Yes. Yes.
Madonna or Mary, the mother, is the feminine in the ascendant, the prostitute in the descendant aspect.
Right.
Because we call the prostitute what? A fallen woman, do we not?
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to pause here. Okay, no questions or comments. We're going to continue on.
I have a question.
Okay, we got to pause it again. So again, it says that this is the abiding place of the eternal man who is one with God. We often, because again of our conditioning, because of compulsory education, because of the conditioning of whatever, quote unquote, religious or spiritual or belief system that we had identified with, we always put this eternal man, we didn't identify ourselves with the eternal man,
Never did. Never.
but we put it on Christ, the Son. All right, we're going to go through this aspect of the Son. Um, Christ, again, and Lucifer are indicative of two aspects of the male energy, of masculine energy.
Yeah.
Christ, masculine energy in its ascended form, and Lucifer, the masculine ascendant, the masculine energy or element in its descended form.
Right. Right.
I saw Lucifer fall from heaven. All right, that is
Mm-hmm.
allegorical. That is
Mm-hmm.
talking about us falling from divine higher consciousness at rest into consciousness in motion. Are you all with me?
Yeah.
Which is a mere reflection, a mere simulation of the divine. In terms of
That's
go ahead, Nasi.
I was just going to say that certainly is not how we was taught and how we understood it in the kingdom.
That,
Lucifer was always an entity that was anything other than our lower nature, but it was
right,
always someone else. And then I don't know what we thought we were, because we didn't see ourselves as Christ. You
right.
know what I'm saying? The anointing. So who did we actually think we were? That's a good question, Bakuri. Who did we
Right.
really think we were? We weren't Lucifer now, you
We were
know.
the sheep. We were the sheep.
We were
Yeah,
sheep. We were
Yeah.
worms. We were servants.
Yeah.
I can show you. I can show you that through, sinners,
yeah,
sinners.
yeah, right. But
Sheep.
we never want to admit that.
Right.
Mm.
So um, the Madonna or Mary or the mother figure is the ascended form of, the ascended form of the divine feminine element, and within the simulated universe, and the prostitute is the descended aspect. The
Yeah,
prostitute or the whore is the
yeah.
descendant aspect of the feminine element or feminine energy. And again, that's why we have the phrase fallen woman, right? Fallen.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get into that later. Um, if we all have this, I'm going to erase what we have now as we move forward. So again, it says, this is the abiding place of eternal man who is one with God. That is me. I'm the eternal man. I'm the human, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm the human. The sisters are, the Hugh woman, because we all came from one source. We're all here as a result of one cause, correct?
Yeah.
That is consciousness moving from rest to motion. It is the God's kingdom of heaven within you, which the Nazarene, which the allegorical character Christ bade man in the narrative to seek. All right? This is what we're all seeking, this divine understanding of this aspect of self, right? In the past, Nasi, we've externalized it, but we
Right.
realize now, we've come to the realization that it is internal in all of us. It is our true nature. The true nature is divinity. Our true nature is divinity. Sound at rest. The who becoming what? The who man, the who woman. The word what? Becoming flesh. The reality is that every time you read the scriptures and it's talking about the nature of Christ, we're not talking about the narrative of Jesus Christ. We're looking at nature. We're looking at what what the allegorical character is representing energetically, right? We're looking at the nature of Christ, not so much the allegorical caricature. The nature of Christ is in all of us. That is what the allegory is telling us. That is what the narrative. It is the inward man, or the inner word or the inner sound Ward is word, right?
Yeah.
Or the inner sound. So, a quick review. We were looking at this phrase tohu vabohu, right? Without form and void, meaning creation at rest before it was expressed, before it was manifest, before it unfolded into what we call life or life experience or reality. You must take responsibility of creating it all. That's a big step, I know. So the phrase tohu vabohu indicates the uncreated, unmanifested, enfolded, encrypted, unexpressed universe. That is consciousness at rest when it had no form, no definition. Consciousness desired to create, therefore it moved, went from dormancy or rest into active motion. That active motion was expressed through sound or vibration, what the scriptures refer to in the New Testament as the Word, which is an expression of creative desire. It is the first word, the first vibration, or the first frequency that is the cause of everything that we know as reality, as life now. Our ancient ancestors expressed that in this word, who, all right? Later in the New Testament, it was translated into word, all right? Into word. These two things are referring to the same thing. In the beginning was the word.
Hello.
In the beginning was the word. And the word eventually what? Took the form of flesh, material, matter, took physical form. We're getting a lot of you gotta close your mics, family.
Eitai,
Yes.
you know, when you're really going through something real deep and you making it through it, what do you say? You say, whoo!
That's correct. That's correct. Absolutely. This is all in us, family.
We
So
got Eitai.
yes.
Okay, I have a quick question. I didn't mean to interrupt. Finish your thought.
Okay, yeah, we're wrapping it up here, family. We're closing. So all that we've gone over is we've taken you from your divine beginnings to where you are right now, from divinity to humanity, right? Does everybody get that?
Okay.
Now, I know that this is going to create questions, but let me instruct you. Let me just guide you. Allow this to vibrate. Allow it to vibrate within you. Like we said before, do not try to connect it with former teachings, former conditioning. The knowledge of all of this is inside of you. We're just presenting it in a form where it will resonate, in a simple form where it will resonate within you, so that once you allow it to resonate within your inner organs, which is you're designed to do. The scripture says, I desire truth where? In the inward parts. That's where it resides, in you. Allow it to resonate. And this inner realization, this inner intelligence, this inner knowledge will result in what we call an aha moment. Aha. Are you all with me?
Okay, I have a quick question, Eitai.
Go ahead.
Okay, listen. Okay, going back, you said consciousness moved, correct?
Yes,
And it moved upon the face of the waters and everything in Genesis, and it began to create, correct?
that's correct.
Okay, so now with Sweetie, you have to forgive me, I've got a bit of a cold.
That's all.
So now we know that consciousness was flawed from the beginning.
No. Not consciousness is never flawed, but it
Okay.
chose a particular path that would cause separation. It consciously chose, because the desire was for the observer to observe itself, for the imaginer to imagine itself. And in order for it to do that, it had to what? Separate. Simple as that.
Oh,
Simple as that. It had to separate. So it chose a path, a process, a method that would what? Cause itself to separate.
okay. 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 That works then.
And so it is no longer biased from the standpoint, or no longer separated or isolated from the standpoint of having a singular perspective. But now, in separation, it can do what? Behold itself. That is the totality of knowledge, the totality of experience. To what? Know as I am known. To see as I am seen. I just want you all to let this vibrate. To hear as I am heard. How can I do that? By creating a simulation of myself. Have any of you, this is self-evident, people, have any of you ever heard yourself? How do you hear yourself?
All the time.
How do you hear yourself, though?
Through your ears.
No.
No.
The simplest way to hear yourself, I've experienced quite frequently because I make recordings all the time.
Absolutely. You record yourself. Y'all hear this? You record yourself. You record yourself. Do you not know that that is a chord that is here? You record yourself. And have you heard yourself and said, is that me? Do I sound like that? Nobody's ever done that.
Yes, I have. I have.
And we often
I
say,
have.
wow, I don't like how I sound.
Right.
Very good, David. Very good. And this is what happens.
Hey, I made a movie and I saw myself.
Right. And this is, look, this is where I wanted to get you all to before we close. In order to hear ourselves, like David say, we make a recording. It is a simulation, is it not? In order to see ourselves, we had to create what? A motion picture universe. Forms moving around in infinite diversity. Does it make sense?
Motion picture underwater.
Motion
Most of
picture
you.
underwater, starring who? Most of you.
Most of you.
A motion picture where? Underwater. Starring most of you, Luke. It's a simulation. That was the desire. Simple as that, family. Let it resonate. Let it marinate. Let it vibrate within you. And you will start, all things, the nature of all things will start to emerge for you. So we're going to end right here and ask if there are any questions or comments.